Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, and this is officially going to be the first video produced on my brand new all-singing, all-dancing video rendering PC. Fingers crossed, but I'm pretty confident. I did a test render while I was still in the process of pretty much downloading and installing a whole bunch of other software. So while all that was happening, I took a 7-minute long World of Tanks clip, 4K, 60 frames per second, rendered it out at the same resolution and frame rate with 60,000 megabits per second bitrate, and it took 3 minutes and 40 seconds to render the video. Oh, this is going to make my life so much easier, because rendering 4K video was seriously bringing my old PC to its knees. So let's hear it for the Ryzen 9 3700 XT 12-core processor. It's pretty good for gaming too. But anyway, on with the show. This is Master Chief 1567 in the British Premium Tier 10 battleship HMS Thunderer. Incidentally, some of you might be familiar with the guy in the Minotaur that he's divisioned up with. That's Static the Warmonger. He's a World of Warships community contributor. But this isn't about Static, this is about Master Chief. The Thunderer, Wargaming seem to be going through a phase where they keep pushing out battleships on with 18-inch guns. Not the 18-inch guns that you get on the Yamato or the Musashi, mind you, which are slightly bigger than 18-inch in caliber and are therefore able to punch through 32mm of bow and stern plating and completely overmatch. These 18-inch guns are 457mm, which means they can only overmatch 30mm of plating, but they're still pretty damn impressive. They're extremely accurate. In fact, the only real downside is that the Thunderer only has 8 of them. Unlike the Conqueror, where you get 12 shots per salvo with its 16-inch guns, or the Yamato or Musashi, where you get 9. Still, the accuracy and the rate of fire does tend to make up for it. And they do hit bloody hard. Although he hasn't actually hit anything yet. And still hasn't hit anything yet, but don't worry. It may be a slow start, but it's really only a matter of time. The other good thing about these guns is that they share the ridiculous high explosive fire chance that the Conqueror also enjoys. 63%. So it's tempting to just do what Conquerors tend to do and spam nothing but high explosive all day long. The thing is, the Conqueror is firing 12 of those high explosive shells, and the Thunderer, while they're still pretty good, is only firing 8. The 18-inch armor-piercing shells, on the other hand, have a damage potential of nearly 15,000 damage per shot. So if you have the opportunity to hit and do damage with the armor-piercing in the Thunderer, it's almost always going to be a better choice. And just as I say that, Master Chief switches to the high explosive. But the high explosive is still pretty good. As you can see. I mean, that's not bad. If he'd been in a Conqueror doing the same thing, that would probably have been 12,000 damage. Anyway, Master Chief isn't in a terrible spot. He's angled nicely against anybody firing back at him, even though nobody at the moment is firing back at him. He still has the high explosive loaded, which is a little disappointing. Under these circumstances, I'd prefer to see him fire an armor-piercing at targets like that Hindenburg. I mean, the Hindenburg does have a turtleback armor arrangement, but it's a cruiser turtleback armor arrangement. It makes the Hindenburg very tough against other light and heavy cruisers firing armor-piercing, not so much battleships armed with 18-inch guns. Still, it's difficult to be too critical. If in doubt, the high explosive always gets results. As you can see. No more fires though, which is also quite disappointing. Considering he has a 63% fire chance with these 18-inch shells, he scored 5 high explosive hits and he's only managed to get 1 fire. Hindenburg's managed to go undetected, but the shots were in the air. He's turning in again. Is he going to hit? Checking the damage numbers. Yep, 1 further high explosive hit. A few thousand more damage. Still no more fires. Finally, somebody, at least momentarily, was actually targeting him. Although he's now managed to go undetected himself. Looks like shots out from the enemy Conqueror, and it's armor piercing. Turns the nose in. Yep, 4,000 damage. That could have been a lot worse. Hang on a minute. A Conqueror firing armor piercing. Is he allowed to do that? We're going to have to pay attention to that Conqueror. He might actually know what he's doing. Anyway, going undetected is allowing Master Chief the opportunity to close in and provide a little bit more direct support to the Venezia over there ahead of him. But they're going to have to be careful because there are only 2 of them here. And there may be anything up to 4, possibly more enemy ships down there. A Sovetski Rossiya, the Conqueror, a Hindenburg, and a Takao. And those are just the ones that we've already seen. They probably aren't going to have to worry about the enemy destroyer, though. The Daring has been spotted all the way down the other end of the map by Cap Circle Alpha. The team control Cap Circle Bravo in the middle, but nobody seems to be keen to push into Cap Circle Charlie all the way up here. And oh, hang on a second, he switched back to the armor piercing. This could be the end of the Hindenburg. It's looking pretty good. It is.
We destroyed an enemy cruiser.
You see? Cruiser turtleback armor, not battleship turtleback armor. The Hindenburg, probably realising he was buggered there, returned fire, but didn't appear to do any damage. Right. So that leaves 3 enemy ships on this side of the map. The Azure Lane Sovetski Rossiya there. We can also see the Arpeggio Takao, which is basically a Miyoko with a fancy anime skin. And potentially also the Conqueror. So the odds are getting slightly better. Takao torpedoes there, which the Venezia has managed to avoid, but he's turning in. Oh, if the Sovetski Rossiya... Wait, why is the Sovetski Rossiya aiming at Master Chief? Why is he not pummeling the broadside Venezia? Why is the Venezia not... Okay, he's Wow. What was that all about? He torpedoed the Takao, but he didn't find the torpedoes from the other side into that sitting duck of a Russian battleship. 2 kilometers off his port beam? What? Suddenly, the odds just got a lot worse. Remember, the Conqueror could still be out there too. The Takao is damaged but not dead. There's the Conqueror, and the Sovetski Rossiya is now turning nose in. And remember, these may be 18-inch guns, but they can't overmatch 32mm of bow plating. There is also a friendly Sovetski Soyuz closing in, and I don't mean to sound ungrateful here. I mean, it's good that he's recognised that Master Chief is potentially in a lot of trouble here, but it would have been better if he'd held his initial course and just headed down to the southeast, because then he would have been able to catch these guys in a crossfire. But hey, backup's backup. We'll take it. He's bouncing most of the armour piercing from the Sovetski Rossiya, and he's clearly aiming for his turrets in an attempt to take them out with his own armour piercing, but, well, the turrets on that thing appear to be made out of hardened stellinium. The Takao, who is just lurking around that corner, is just sitting there waiting for the opportunity to unload his torpedoes. And the Conqueror is also closing in. The team have just lost to Missouri, which means they're now down 6 ships, and they've still only managed to sink, between the lot of them, 2 enemy cruisers. The Sovetski Rossiya, getting a bit tired by now of bouncing most of his armour piercing, has just switched to high explosive, fires a single salvo and immediately gets a double fire, because of course he does. Meanwhile, the friendly Sovetski Soyuz is thankfully showing a bit of initiative here. He's managed to inch into the cap circle, and he's done it by going around the other side of the island, which means he now has the opportunity to take the Sovetski Rossiya's broadside, which is forcing that guy to try to angle between 2 separate targets. Unfortunately, the distance between these 2 separate targets isn't really enough for either of them to be able to take advantage of broadside shots. I have to say, the Sovetski Rossiya, he is playing pretty well. And he's probably, if I know my World of Warships player base, right now wondering to himself just exactly what the hell the Takao and the Conqueror are doing. Would either of you 2 guys like to get into this fight, or does he have to do it all? Well, to be fair to the Conqueror, he is chasing off the Sovetski Soyuz, which is really, really bad news for Master Chief. Suddenly, the Takao appears. Now, he is taking a bit of a risk here, and clearly he's doing it in order to try to get his torpedoes away. He was extremely lucky not to get citadelled there, as Master Chief aimed for the ammunition hoists underneath his turret, and that's forcing him to back off a little. He's launching a fighter plane. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know what it is that he's hoping that extremely short-lived fighter plane was going to spot that he didn't already know about. But no torpedoes from the Dachau just yet. And I've just realised I said the Dachau was a variant on the Miyoko, and it isn't, is it? it's a variation on the Atago, the premium tier 8. But it wouldn't be the first time I've gotten something wrong like that, and I'm pretty sure it probably won't be the last. Master Chief, what are you doing? See, you've got a choice of 2 targets here. You can kill the Sovietsky Rossiya with your next shot. Okay, good. Ooh, consumables expert. Extra charge on all consumables, so he's got Andrew Cunningham as his captain. That did come as a bit of a surprise, because he wasn't advertising it with the coloured traces. No, hang on a second, here comes the Dachau. He's just taken a hit. This is clearly going to be a suicide torp rush. Can he kill him before he gets the torpedoes away? And I thought he had. I honestly thought he had. But I didn't take into account just how good the firing arcs are on the Atago's torpedoes. And Master Chief could really have done without that. He's popped the heal, obviously. Damage control is now on cooldown, obviously. But he could have really done without losing all of that health. There are now just 4 players left alive on his team against 7 enemies. And there's a distinct possibility that that number is going to get worse before it gets better. Yep, they've just lost the Sovietsky Soyuz, although he might be able to avenge him. In fact, it's anybody's guess who's going to get the killing shot here, but no, I think it's going to be Master Chief. Yep. And isn't that typical? Targets on less than 1,000 health, so naturally you score a Citadel. That's just always the way of things. It's the same in World of Tanks. The chances of scoring an ammo rack detonation on an enemy tank increase exponentially the lower the remaining health the enemy tank has. It's exactly the same thing with Citadels here in World of Warships. Anyway, nice kill. If we're being honest here, bit of a kill steal, but hey, it needed to die. And it's not looking great, I have to say. There's 3 of them against 6. They're 200 points behind, although now Master Chief is... Oh, hang on a second. The Riga over there just took a serious pasting from the Richthofen's AP bombs. I smell an opportunity. Shots out, 18-inch armour piercing. It's looking pretty good. It's completely missed. Shots went wide, shots went long, shots fell short, anywhere but on the target. Shots out again. You know, the Riga honestly shouldn't be advertising his position when he's on this kind of low health, but I think... Oh, I think that's a kill. It is a kill, and there's the Kraken Unleashed. To be fair to the Riga, he was spotted from the air anyway, so he wasn't losing anything by firing. And while he didn't do a huge amount of damage, he did manage to reset the capture progress. And they are continuing to reset the capture progress. No, wait, no. Are they going to get away with it? No, they're not. And the team really need this cap circle, because it's the only one they've got. The enemy team controlled 2, and they're still 3 kills up. And that's a lot of enemy ships. And more than a few of them seem to be targeting Master Chief. AP loaded still. Not exactly ideal for shooting at an Odin, but, well, you know, you fire what's loaded in the barrels. He switched back to the high explosive now. He's angling away from the Odin. He's doing alright for health. Thanks to the consumables expert skill activating earlier, he still has 3 heals. That daring is proving to be a remarkable pain in the arse, however. He's managed to set a fire. And the Thunderer does have a good heal. But it's not the Conqueror heal. It's nowhere near as good as the Conqueror heal. I think he's managed to force a probable damage control on the Daring. He's got the high explosive loaded now. He's going to try his luck with the HE on the Odin. The good news is that the Odin is well ahead of the rest of his teammates. I mean, it looks bad. It is pretty bad. But with the exception of the Daring, most of the rest of the Odin's teammates are 20 kilometres away, but they're going to get into the fight soon. Luckily, the Harugumo in the smokescreen over there is absolutely tearing that Odin a new one. He's turning for the torpedoes. Yeah, the Harugumo's got him. Okay. That's good. He's got his heal back now, by the way. He still has 3 charges. He could be using it now. He is going to use it now. Okay, good. Back to the armour piercing. The Pommern is giving him a broadside to shoot at. Now, you shouldn't expect any Citadels here because it's a Pommern. It's a tough ship. German battleships have notoriously good armour protection. But it's still, yeah, disappointing. I was really hoping for better than that. And there's that pesky daring again. The Harugumo's smokescreen is expiring, so he's in trouble if he wants to keep shooting. Looks like the daring is going for the Harugumo now that he's been spotted, which does make sense. There's one fire on the Thunderer. He clearly has the... Oh, that was better. It's really disappointing how few fires he's actually managed to set with these high explosive shells, considering there's a 63% chance of fire with each hit. This has actually been pretty miserable. The Harugumo's in full retreat, but he's still keeping the fire up. The problem with the Harugumo is it's just not very fast. I think we're going to lose the Harugumo, and we may lose the carrier too. Master Chief testing out the armor piercing on the Pommern. Come on, we need a kill. We got a kill! Nice! Kill number 6. And suddenly it's 3 against 3, and that's when a surprise daring pops out. However, you don't really need to be worried about the daring's torpedoes at this kind of angle, because the island's in the way. If the daring wants to get the torpedoes away, he's going to have to come out of that smoke screen. And that's exactly what he does. Oh, if only he had the high explosive loaded. Expert loader is such an underrated skill, but hey, that was not impressive. It was armor piercing. It was all over penetrations. Meanwhile, the enemy Salem has managed to kill the Harugumo, which is a bit of a bummer, but the Harugumo took the other enemy Pommern down with him, with the fires that he set claiming the next enemy battleship. That daring is still desperately angling to get torpedoes away, and of course, now, and that shot, as well as doing a chunk of damage, knocked out his steering and set a fire, so he's almost certainly, in fact he has definitely, used his damage control, and he's still angling trying to get the torpedoes away. But Master Chief, keeping that spur of land between himself and any enemy torpedoes, and his patience is rewarded with a kill. Kill number 7. And of course, the final salvo proving once again, as if we needed further proof, that Wargaming has a sense of humour, as Master Chief was furiously angling the ship to try to keep some land between himself and any torpedoes that the daring might be trying to fire. The final salvo not only killed him, but it also knocked his torpedo tubes out. Well, of course it did. Well, they're still behind on points. Unbelievable though that may seem, they're still behind on caps. They still only have the 1 cap circle. But now at least, they only have 1 enemy ship to deal with. And while that ship is a Salem, an AA cruiser, which is going to make life difficult for the Manfred von Richthofen, it's not going to be too difficult for a Tier 10 battleship armed with 18-inch guns. He's popped his radar, not sure why. I don't know how he can possibly not know where Master Chief is. It's only been a couple of seconds since he was last spotted, but perhaps he wants to know which way Master Chief is facing. Oh, and here he comes. Now, the Salem, like its sister ship, the Des Moines, is actually quite resilient to 16-inch armour-piercing shells. And so the Salem comes around the corner and starts angling. But these are not 16-inch armour-piercing shells. These are 18-inch armour-piercing shells. And the Salem's 27mm bow offers very little protection against these monsters. Didn't kill him though, which means the Salem is in with a small chance if he can just take advantage of that monstrous reload and pump... No, he's firing high explosive. Okay, never mind. Yeah. Oh well. It was worth a try, I suppose. And that's kill number 8. A pretty impressive result, I'm sure you'll agree, for Master Chief 1567 in the Tier 10 British 18-inch gun-arm battleship HMS Thunderer. I do hope you enjoyed it, because that is it for today. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.